Hi, welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. This is a Worldwide Hoops edition. This is episode 19 for us. We appreciate you tuning in. Today, we're going to catch up with 2021 Jess Moors from New Zealand. She was on with us, I believe, in episode 7. Right at the beginning of COVID, kind of the whole world. And we talk about her recruiting and what happened when COVID hit. And she's experiencing what a lot of international players are experiencing. Recruiting was going, COVID hit, and then it just went ice cold. And so we talk a little bit about that. We catch up on the WNBL season that happened in New Zealand back in November, and they did what they called an 18 and 18. So we talked a little bit about that, but it was good to catch up with her. And so, hey, stay tuned after this break, and she's going to join me for our interview.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Athlete Vision Sports presents the most advanced new recruiting engine on the market today. Athlete Vision records all your big tournaments on high-definition video. You can show your A game to a nationwide audience. Create your own player profile or upload your own highlight videos. College recruiters have instant access to your tournament videos. Let Athlete Vision catapult you to the next level. Sign up for Athlete Vision today.
Hey, welcome back. I am now joined by 2021 Jess Moors of New Zealand. Appreciate you joining us, Jess. I know it's Tuesday morning, your time. You're up nice and early, getting ready to go to work and stuff. Got a nice little summer job. Making a little bit of money this summer?
Yes, I am. Just trying to save a little bit before heading over to the States.
Awesome. Well, that's a great thing. And I know y'all have had y'all's holidays. You got some younger siblings who are going back to school, and I know your brother's at Colorado State playing there. And stuff. How's it been this summer since you graduated and school's over as far as high school there for you is over? How's your summer been?
It's been really nice, thanks. I think being in a country who's now COVID free, we didn't have any, restrictions over summer. So yeah, we were a bit worried we weren't gonna, get a nice Christmas and New Year celebration, but it's all been pretty nice and been able to continue trainings and everything over summer as well. So it's been great. I'm very lucky that we have no COVID around to ruin summer.
No, y'all are very lucky as we're still dealing with COVID in the United States, and New Zealand's definitely taken a different approach. I mean, they locked down the borders pretty quickly. And I know they're planning on keeping the borders closed. I was looking at some international travel and different things, and I usually come over for the club championships and under 15s and under 17s, and I don't think I'll be able to come. I don't think they're not going to let me in, which I completely understand. And so we'll see. So I'm glad that New Zealand's been able to get it under control. For the most part, life's kind of continued.
It was a bit challenging. I think last year from kind of March to August, we had a few lockdowns, and because that's when our school year runs, that kind of like February to November, school seasons, everything like that got cancelled. Right. School nationals, club nationals. We had all that cancelled, but I think, for the most part, we've been really good. Awesome. So it's been good.
Good. Well, and part of it is you live in the North Harbour area, up Auckland area, north of the North Island, up at the top, and so which I had to learn that. Somebody told me one time pretty early when I was going over there, oh, it's on the South Island. I'm like, the South Island? No, it's not. It's two different islands, and so one time I was going to drive to the South Island, and then I looked at the map and was like, oh, I can't drive across the ocean. That's not going to work.
No.
You grew up in the North Harbour Association, and really basketball for you and your family's just what y'all do. Older brothers at Colorado State, parents have played. that kind of stuff. Mom is much taller than I am. Um, and I got the opportunity to meet her at I think under 17s. One time we
Yeah.
just happened to sit by each other and watching a game and had a great conversation with your mom. And but talk a little bit about the role that North Harbour has played just within your growth in the game.
Yeah, they've had a massive role in my basketball journey. I think I've been playing for North Harbour since I was about 10 years old. So all the way from under 11s to under 19s. And they're so good with morning academies, just finding so many trips and competitions for us to play each week. And always, I think from a young age, just making it fun and encouraging as well. And they really push for the women's basketball in North Harbour. So I've really loved going through that club. I think, yeah, we've been pretty successful. We've had a few under 15s, under 17s, under 19s championships, which, yeah, I've loved the team. I've always kind of gone through with the same girls. So, being in that bottom age group when we win the champions, I have a few of my teammates now over in the States. I have a friend at Portland Uni, at St. Mary's, and then some at a couple of junior colleges. So North Harbour has definitely helped us to all be a bit successful in our basketball journeys.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, no any junior under 15s, under 17s, under 19s, uh, you know, North Harbor's always in the conversation, especially on the girls' side, as who's going to potentially win it. And you know, there's really kind of two big, I guess, big programs you would say there with North Harbour and I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to try to say it, Waikato.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
No.
No, I didn't say that.
Waikato. You were close.
I was close. All right, say it for me.
Waikato.
Yeah. And you are kind of the two programs that have had a lot of success there at the
Yeah.
juniors and under 15s and under 17s and which has been good
Yeah.
to the and so there's a lot of kids who come over and from those two programs to the United States. So
Yeah,
um,
sure.
you've also going through there and you've also had the opportunity to represent New Zealand.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the first time I got to see you play was actually in 2017 at the Australian Under 16 Junior Championships.
Yeah.
When usually New Zealand will send over a team there because it just works in the calendar.
Yeah.
And so it was in Perth, and I remember getting to see you there. And then just kind of following you with under 17s, and then y'all got to go to under 17 Worlds in Zaragoza, under 18s, and kind of on.
Yeah.
Share a little bit, what does it mean to represent New Zealand?
It means so much. I think when you're younger, kind of being in that program from a young age, maybe like 13, 14 years old, you don't really realize how a blessed opportunity it is to be able to represent your country. So I think definitely in these past 2 to 3 years, still being fortunate enough to be in that program, I think just realizing that you're not just playing for yourself anymore, just down the road a club association game. When you put that singlet on, you're representing your family, your country. I think especially just representing your family, everything they do to help you with getting you to trainings, getting you to games, supporting you, fundraising for you. So I think it definitely hits that it's so much more than just basketball. You're there representing your whole country, and not everyone gets that opportunity. So it's such an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. And it is just it's one of those feelings that it's undescribable.
Yeah,
When you get you play North Harbour, you represent your association, and that's cool, but to represent your whole country,
yeah,
and to know that you're one of 12 at these age groups, and I mean that's just a cool feeling. And so
yeah,
I know your class coming through that age group has had a great opportunity to get New Zealand to World Cups, the under 17s Worlds, and be right there, competing with under 19s and possibly getting in. And so
yeah.
you're a big age group coming up for New Zealand basketball that has a really bright future.
Yeah, I think for sure, these past couple years, I think New Zealand's really got on the map. I think starting with, Steven Adams making it into the NBA, then, I think definitely these past 2 years, just the players coming out of our New Zealand program. I'm sure you've heard about the success Charlize Ledger-Walker's
Oh, yeah.
having at Washington State. So I think it really is paving the way for lots of, younger New Zealand ballers. I think, not many people have heard of, this little country just down the ditch from Aussie. So we're definitely getting up there these last couple of years.
Well, and I would agree with you there. And I've always thought, from a New Zealand side, from a world side, like New Zealand has quality players, but it always hadn't panned out from a recruiting side. There's a lot of New Zealand players have had to go junior college.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had the opportunities, not because they're good players, but because colleges trusting that it's New Zealand. Like, yes, they can play. And, I think, success with the Legger-Walker sisters at Washington State and some other players at Portland and St. Mary's and more success that New Zealand players have on the international side representing New Zealand, but also at the college level, more colleges will realize, like, hey, New Zealand's a good place to go look at players. They've got quality players. We need to recruit that area. If I'm recruiting Australia, I also need to include New Zealand. I mean, it's a 4-hour flight. I've flown it too many times. It's a 4-hour flight. It's easy. Get on, watch 2 movies, you land. You're fine. And so, if you're a college coach and you're a recruiter, do not leave out New Zealand. If you recruit Australia, you need to recruit New Zealand because it's the same type players. They're competitive, they're feisty, they compete, and the game in New Zealand is growing. You mentioned Steven Adams. He's also starting to play a role in the last couple of years of recognizing and developing top players there in New Zealand, and talk a little bit about the experience. I know he does a weekend event with the kids. So share a little bit about that.
That's funny. I actually just realized I'm wearing his jumper from the camp.
Well, that's what reminded me of it. You said it, and I'm like, hey, I think she's wearing Steven Adams deal. We're gonna add that in. So Steven, he does a great thing down there. Share a little bit about it.
Yeah, Steven, he's been amazing for Basketball New Zealand. I think for the past 3 years, he started running a Steven Adams High School Invitational Camp where he invites the top 20 female and male players from all around New Zealand, North Island, South Island, especially players who maybe haven't, been able to get exposure through the New Zealand program. He wants to make it that all types of kids from all areas can, that want a chance at going to college, they get to come be seen. He does it really great because as well, he pays for everything, which is amazing, because it can be hard, for New Zealand trials, you have to get to wherever it's based, and it can be a lot of pressure financially on families. So Steven, with these camps, he's really opening up opportunities for other kids. So we'll do a couple of days of, trainings. He gets really great coaches and New Zealand coaches, international coaches, and then we'll play on the last day a kind of showcase game that usually scouts are invited to. I think when it's open for your year 12 and year 13 year, in year 12 there were quite a few college coaches that came over and watched it, but last year obviously with COVID that couldn't happen, but they work so hard to find ways, so I think they invited a few hundred coaches to watch the live stream, and it was a really great event.
Yeah, and it always is, and I know there's been other conversations about possibly taking those teams and bringing them to the States to provide some more exposure opportunities with them. But I know those games are always live streamed and stuff, and I've always checked them out. And I know it gets sent out to college coaches, and so I know that's a unique opportunity. And Steven and his whole team and family have seen that, hey, there's a little gap here, and let's see if we can fill that opportunity within New Zealand basketball and helping kids. And so,
Yeah, it's definitely such an honor.
absolutely. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break. During the break, we're going to show highlights from this recent WNBL season. Jess played with North Harbour Breeze in the WNBL. So that is the pro league there in New Zealand. And so enjoy these highlights, and we'll be back right after this. All right, hey, welcome back. Appreciate you staying on with us. With 2021, Jess Moors, as I'm like pointing on the screen because you're next to me, and stuff, and she's with us, and we're honored to have her with us. And So the highlights you just saw of Jess is actually from the 2020 WNBL season that y'all are fortunate to be able to play in November.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that. How'd your season go? I know it's kind of like a bubble, if I remember right. You are kind of in a certain spot and played a bunch of games in a short amount of time. And so share a little bit about that season.
Yeah, it was great. I think because usually we would have had that from kind of March through to May, but obviously with COVID, we had to kind of wait it out, and we're fortunate enough to play it in November. So the season did look a little bit different. We called it like the Sal's 18 and 18. So there were 18 games in 18 days, and it was all based in Auckland. So yeah.
Wait. So 18 games in 18 days. So you literally played a game every day.
No. So it was like one game, as in we would play a team that night, then the next night, from the 6 teams, someone was always playing one night. So we'd get a couple of days rest. No.
Okay. So it wasn't like every team played 18 games in 18 days.
No.
Wow. I was like, dude, that is intense. Oh
no, that my body would not have lasted that.
I was thinking in my head, I'm like, man, that championship game had to be sloppy because they were exhausted. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So how many total games did you play?
I think we had 7 or 8 games.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely not 18.
Thank goodness. So how'd y'all end up finishing?
We did really well. We won it. So we are the national champions in the Women's Adult League, which is such a great honor. I think we hadn't won that in many years, so it was definitely a surreal feeling. Definitely being the only high school player, so being that kind of development player in the team, I just got to learn so much from playing with older women who have also gone through the college experience, have played professionally overseas. Just training and being on court and playing with them, it's definitely so different to being in your high school team.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that's you can't replace that. You can't replace those things when that happens, and the experiences that you get there. And so, that is irreplaceable, because at some point with your juniors, you get to where you're not better, but you're at the top level of your age. And so your development needs to continue. You need to face another challenge. And playing grown women, that does that for you.
Yeah, and I think because in New Zealand, our high school is, you're 9 to 13, so we have that 5 years of high school. I think because in your high school team, the age ranges from 13 years old to 18. You can definitely, I think, get to a point where you need to move on and be playing with older women to further develop your game more.
Absolutely. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference between an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
physically,
sure.
and maturity, and that is different. So the unique thing you kind of hit there is in New Zealand, which we talked about on a previous podcast way back in the summer when we first started. We didn't do the shows. That's why we're glad to have you back on. Is that in New Zealand, y'all go to school for 13 years. And so that's, when college coaches are looking at ages, that's the one difference when you're recruiting Australia to New Zealand is in Australia, they only go 12, but New Zealand, they go 13. And so, just need to be mindful of that when you're determining players' classes based on the year that they were born. And so,
yeah.
But hey, let's talk a little bit of recruiting. I know you've had multiple colleges contact you and reach out to you and recruit you, and you had that kind of going on before COVID, and then COVID hit. And like many international prospects that have been in your shoes right now, tell about the experience when COVID hit. What happened to your recruiting? What took place?
It was definitely very difficult. It wasn't the recruiting process I imagined. I think having an older brother who has gone through the recruiting process, and I've seen him and mum go on official visits and, be able to do all that, I think I definitely going into 2020 imagined a very different recruiting process. But because our season is that kind of for school and club, we start in that kind of April, May and go through to October and have our school national champions in October. All of that got cancelled. Our under 19 nationals, so we were the previous year champions of, got cancelled. I think I had 2 New Zealand trips last year to China and Tokyo, I want to say. That I think would have just been such great exposure, especially because just being on that international level where you're going to be a lot more seen by coaches. Cancelled. And like you mentioned, Steven Adams Camp last year, we were meant to be taken over to the States, I think. So just all that exposure that I had planned on getting that, didn't happen. And for so many other internationals as well, it definitely made things difficult when coaches, ask a full game film. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have any film from since October of 2019 when I was, 16 years old. I felt like my game had progressed so much more. So yeah, that was really difficult. Some schools did offer me, with only just seeing my highlights, which, I was shocked by, but it was great opportunities. But yeah, I think the schools that the level that I wanted to be at, that when they got in contact and I just didn't have the film for them, yeah, they just had to move on and recruit other players. So that was definitely hard. And then finally getting film in November, December, and then schools, obviously some coaches are just waiting to see what happens with their season, if they make it to March Madness, if players stay. Definitely it's all just up in the air.
Oh, absolutely. And really COVID's thrown a wrench in all recruiting, even in the States, but even more for international kids. Like you said, I mean, you didn't, because the timing of it fell when y'all would normally play your WNBL season. And because COVID hit and there was no FIBA events and there was no international and y'all couldn't come over to the States and play tournaments and all those factors, I mean, outside of the game film from, WNBL in November, I mean, it's been well over a year, if not 2, before there's been really good stuff. Stuff that's worth sending over. That's just not like a workout or playing pickup or, stuff like that. And so, and then throw in the NCAA giving an extra year and then transfers and stuff like that. And so it's definitely made the process different. And we still can't do official visits. So, it's going to be interesting, but, from I've got to see you play, like I said, I saw you at under 15 and kind of all the way through and seeing you develop. And then you attended the camp we did over in New Zealand, in 2019 as well. And so, I've always been a fan of your game. And definitely what's been impressive for me is not only what you do with the ball, but the way that you impact the game and your natural leadership within the team and getting to see you in different, in New Zealand selection camps and represent New Zealand and then playing with your club and how your maturity and your leadership exudes to the team and helps make everybody else better. But even the level that you can play. And so, for college coaches, if you're still looking for a 2021, Jess is definitely a player you need to check out and a player that you need to see. I fully anticipate, Jess, your recruiting is going to continue to pick back up and we're looking forward to seeing, where that is going to be. What is something that when you step on campus, what are you planning on studying?
I would love to study psychology. I think I'm definitely very interested in becoming a sports psychologist. So That's definitely top of my list.
Awesome. Yeah, we need some more sports psychologists, that's for sure. Um, and, and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. Well, Jess, we appreciate you hopping on with us today. And it's good to catch up. We've known each other for
Yeah.
years, and with mom and the family. And so definitely wish you nothing but luck going forward, and looking forward to seeing where you end up attending at what university. And so hey, we're going to end this show with another highlight video for Jess. College coaches, this is a player, if you're interested, you need to definitely find. She's on Twitter, she's on Instagram. So all the social media stuff, she is there. And so, Jess, we appreciate you tuning in.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're watching your own show. Appreciate you being on. Hey, for Premier Basketball, I'm Mark Williams. We're coming to you from the baseline.